but it's one of those scams. You know, it's supposed to cover all these things, but somewhere in small print they have all these reasons they won't cover things. So I've had like 5 claims, and out of 5 claims, based on thousands of dollars of repairs, they covered $20. And I called them about the hot water heater. The hot water heater is just over a year old, because the previous owners had replaced it. And I guess just the gas valve went bad. And so originally the lady says, well, we have to escalate this to another department because we have to find out if it's still under warranty. Because if it's under warranty, we're not covering it. I'm like, you wouldn't even cover labor? Because warranty doesn't cover labor. Oh, no. I'm like, okay, well, fine, whatever. I'm already planning on you not paying because you haven't paid anything. So then, that turned out that it's only warranted under the original owner. So I'm like, okay, well, that's good. But now we need more information from the tech, because we need to know why that part failed. They said, well, the tech told you why it failed. It's just the part went bad. Yeah, but we need to know if it was a manufacturer's defect. I'm like, that wasn't even in the cards. You took his word the first time. It wasn't even in the cards until you realize, oh, we might have to pay. Let's find another reason. I'm just sitting there like, so if you ever buy a house or sell a house and that warranty stuff is still there, just ask for a discount on the house for the amount of the warranty and throw that in the bank, or just give a discount to the person you're selling to. Don't do the warranty stuff. The very first thing, it was in my house for 2 weeks, and, well, it wasn't even 2 weeks, it was third night. I'm adjusting the shower head and it broke off in the wall. And I'm like, well, that's not good. I'm a pretty handy person. I could have fixed it myself. I just didn't want to. I'm like, I've got this warranty, right? I'm just going to let someone else do this work. And so I call the only plumber available in the evening, Mr. Rooter. Don't ever use Mr. Rooter. They're very expensive. They rip you off, and I'll explain. So Mr. Rooter shows up, and I have to call the company and stuff and for the warranty, and they talk to him. Mr. Rooter gives them a quote of $500 to replace this 90-degree fitting. I'm like, I really don't care what you charge them, Well, they came back and said, well, because it was corrosion, we don't cover that. Like, it was from the inside out. That's normal wear and tear. No, that's corrosion. I'm like, hard water inside the pipe, inside out, how could I even see that? I said this warranty is for unforeseen things. Yeah, that doesn't work. So then, I'm like, whatever, you're here, fix the damn thing. Still charged me $500 and some for a little 90-degree angle fitting, which was $4, by the way, because they had to go to Menards and buy it, so I knew exactly how much it cost. So they unsoldered the old one, put the new one on the same piece of pipe that they unsoldered it from, soldered it back in, screwed the head back in, A-OK. I was reading the bill afterwards. They charged me for 5 foot of copper pipe. And you know how much they charge for 5 foot of copper pipe? $300. So I called them. I'm like, I didn't get 5 foot of copper pipe. Well, we repaired copper pipe. No, you didn't. You literally cut a hole this big in the wall. How are you supposed to? I said, I have pictures of the whole thing. Yeah, we have the same pictures. Like, okay. Well, explain to me how you got 5 foot of copper pipe in there. So she calls the tech, and it turns out just because they soldered it to a piece of copper pipe, that's what they put down. And I'm like, yeah, I'll never go through you guys again. I'm like, I'll let my house blow up before I use them. then I know my insurance will cover. So, long story short, yeah, buyer beware. And it's strange because you don't see the problems when you buy a house. You have approximately 15 minutes to a half hour to look at the house on your walkthrough to see if you like the house. You don't have time to see if there are problems. You have time to see if there are major problems. But some of the small problems are expensive. So, anyway, interesting. Now, our class. We have had our exam. Most of you probably already seen your grade on the exam, and most of you are probably actually happy, but you're probably confused. Like, how did I do that? Okay. What I don't tell people all the time is because if I do tell people this, they don't try. I'm not in the game to fail people, number one. I'm in to see what level of understanding you have. A lot of times exams are actually a way for me to gauge where we're at and where like I can improve and stuff like that. At the end of the day, we were doing that programming class and I was having this huge brain fart, and this happened every single time. Almost as soon as everybody left, I'm like, oh yeah, that's how you do it. And the way that it happened was that I'm like, well, why does the count work? Okay, the counter was working, but the increase wasn't working, right? So going 10% more every time. And then I woke up and realized, oh, yeah, you do it the exact same way you do a counter. Okay? Down here I say counter equals counter plus 1. Well, up here I have to say result equals number plus number times 10%. And then I print result, and then I say number equals result. Now I might actually be able to get past that too. I might not actually need yeah, because of the way I did this, I do need that. But you might be able to figure out a way not to have that even, that variable. And the only reason I think I need it is because this is a number asking for an input. I could always try not to have that. I could say number equals float number times, and then down here I can just say number equals whatever. But I probably would not do that. But anyway, that's why it wasn't doing it, because I needed to add number to number, and down here I had to say number equals result, because result is the actual 10% increase, and I'm moving it back to number, so the next time it goes through it's different. The original value for number is whatever someone types in. The result takes that number and adds 10%. Instead of number times 0.10, could I go like this? %. I could do that. I should get the exact same result. If I run it, we can test it and see. Yeah, I get the exact same result. Okay, so I can do that, and that makes it a little simpler, right? A little more straightforward on the code. I don't have another variable in there. But the idea is that, yeah, it's always a simple, well, not always. Majority of the time, like when you're having a logic problem, you just kind of have to sit back and think about it. And sometimes if you don't actually start writing stuff down, literally have a pencil and paper, you forget what you've tried. You know what I'm saying? That's also why I would do something like, well, this is sort of working, but it's not quite, so I'm going to comment that and move down to my next line and try something else. That way I can see what I've tried. Right? So, there's that. I'm actually wondering if I can just do number here and number here. Let's try it, see if it's that simple. And the reason I'm saying this is because, like I said, it's not always a sometimes things are just simple. So I'm going to run it, put a 10 in there. Yeah, so I can just do that. Right? So I didn't need that extra variable at all. This can actually be gone. And I left it as is so we could go over this. But so it's done just like the count. Pretty straightforward. Yeah. Yeah, I literally, after you guys walk out the door, I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, oh.
I know it was literally like 5 minutes after I left you posted it. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, nice to see this now.
Yeah, I don't give up. That's where I have a problem. I would have kept going all day, and my wife would have been like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Are you coming home? I would have probably been like, no, got a problem here. Figure out dinner. Anyway.
did everyone take the test at that time?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I have one person that needs to take it, but he never reads his email and stuff, so. Doesn't matter at the end of the day. But needless to say, the only people that didn't get full points would be somebody that just copied and pasted text off the internet and didn't make any changes to it. And you can always tell because you get variables like I and N and stuff like that. I don't like that. I'd rather have you try on your own and get something wrong and I can see where you stand rather than put something in there and, you know. I give people kudos for finding something that's pretty much in line with what we were looking for, but then you need to be able to do something with it. But it told me a couple things, a couple things being that most of us understood how to do the input, most of us understand how to print, most of us were able to do the counter, most of us were able to do variables and stuff like that. So I got quite a bit from it. Then the other problem was, what was the other problem? It wasn't difficult. Let me look.
About printing the grade.
Yeah, it was printing the grade. And there were a couple ways of doing that. And some people did it just in the same program. If you did that, you had to tab out because otherwise it tried to run the whole thing, right? I didn't want to do that. Basically, when it finally gets out of the while loop, you could do the next problem, or you could have put it at the beginning and then did it. But you could have set this up in multiple ways, right? You could have just done an if else, or elif, elif. So if I said if, parenthesis, and I don't see a problem. And then we need grade. Actually, Right? So you would have something like that, enter your points, put an extra space in there so it looks good. Then down here you have points, and then you would do an elif, right? And I think it stays in there. Ah. No, that needs to be backed out. That's why. You got to back out. You guys got to tell me this stuff, because I just keep typing. So if I have an error, I'm blaming you. And I'll show you what, you know, there was a point that people missed quite often, and this could go completely opposite. There's different ways of doing it, but elif is less than 60. Oh no, yeah. Yeah, the keyboard sticks sometimes. Thank you. I appreciate you doing that. It could look something like this, and we can test it, and we put a 10 in there, and then now it's asking me for my point value. So if I say 80, it's going to say B. Okay, but because it's not less than 80, right? So if I run again, here's the problem: is if you did it in the same program, you got to run them both again. So then you could put 10 in again. It doesn't really matter. If I put 79. I still have an error. So somewhere, where is, oh, no. Yeah, no, that's right. No, that's wrong. If it's less than 80, it should be a C. Okay. So it's not making it there? Maybe that does have to be tabbed in. Oh boy. Wait, no, that was right. This needs to be tabbed in. Oh geez, I gotta go back. It's easier than this. That should have been fine. Something's not right there. No, that was right. So why is it doing that? I'm looking, what's wrong with the logic, people? If it's less than 90, it's a B. Oh, it was already less than 90, so I have to actually go the opposite way.
If it's greater than
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's my logic issues again. That would be an A, right? So we have,
Then you just go down the,
I was gonna say, you could keep it except make it go, like the 90 becomes 60 and then go 70, 80, 90. That makes sense.
yeah,
flip it the other way.
and here's the thing, and as long as your answer's right, it didn't matter, right? Because there are different ways of doing it. If I test to see if something's equal to or greater than, I could actually test to see if it's less than and just give a different result, right? But it's the order of operations and the order in which we test things that matters. So, I would be like, this is a D, this is going to be an F, this is going to be a C, right? This is going to be a B, and see what happens. We already know that works. If I put in 79, that should be a C. Okay, so that was the program. It was just a nested if, elif, and then an else at the end. And this was the key right here, is that you don't have to test for everything, because at the end of the day, your last result is always the false. So if this is true, do this. 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 Else, all those other tests weren't true. So all the other stuff was false, so it's going to default to the last else. So you don't have to test again for it. It's literally just that. If you wanted to test for that, you could have said greater than or equal to 0. Right? Because it went through all the other tests and stuff. But, follow me? So, and I said, hey, show me each grade to prove that it's working. Well, that's why you would have had to show me each grade, because if you did it wrong like I did the first time, in that reverse order, it wouldn't have worked. Every grade that you put in would have been a B. Or, depending on how you did it, every one might have been a C or a D or an F. See what I'm saying? So it's always testing multiple things, because if I had just done that very first one, and it threw a B, and I just stopped there as the class example right now, you would have been like, oh, okay, that worked. And so would I. But then when the next person used that program and it doesn't work properly, it's a problem. It's like I found out something just the other day that I never knew. Let's say that, what's your name? I can't always remember. What are you listening to? Anyway, what's your name?
Malik.
Malik, yes. I was going to say that, I honestly was, but I didn't remember. I remembered, but I didn't. But anyway, let's say that, let's say that, I lost my train of thought again. Let's say that you took and submitted an assignment late, okay? And let's say I'd already given you a 0. But that Blackboard showed me you submitted it late, so I went out and actually graded it, right? So if I click on it and go out and grade it in Blackboard and, change the grade that way, it'll give you that grade, but it's also going to put a 0 in there, and that affects your overall grade. But if I grade it, and I'm like, okay, well, you got 70 out of 100. So I take that 70, I put it there, but I also take the 70 and replace it just by typing the value in to the grade book. Now it gets rid of that 0. I'm like, has anyone told Blackboard about this problem? Because I should be fixed. That's an example of what happened here, right? it's still holding it in a variable somewhere. It's still holding that value and you're not replacing it. So that creates a problem. Thank you. So, what are you listening to? Anything good?
My whole playlist good.
What's that?
I said my whole playlist good.
Oh. Well, what's the song?
What song? Right now I'm listening to Kodak.
No.
Hey.
I'm good with that.
You listen to Sam.
Yeah.
What do I listen
what you
to?
listen to.
You do?
Yeah.
What?
Because one time you like linked your YouTube recordings, and then I like clicked on it, and it had like your like the playlist you've made, and I don't know if you know you did it, but you made like a bunch of random like music playlists.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that. And it's because Google Play links to there. I listen to anything and everything. I listen to stuff all over. What's that?
Kind of seemed like it.
Yeah. I listen to everything from hardcore rap to opera.
You
Yeah.
look like a screamo kind of guy.
A what?
A screamo kind of guy.
I don't even know what screamo is.
Just people screaming. That's the music.
Oh, yeah. No. I don't need any more of that. That's in my head.
Oh.
That's not scary. Nothing is. No, I went to Eminem when they did their Eminem and Jay-Z when they did their home and home tour. I went to that. I went and saw Beyonce and Jay-Z in Chicago. That was awesome. Soldier Field. I've seen, Goo Goo Dolls, Bare Naked Ladies, all that stuff. I've listened to anything and everything.
It's like
Did you
Nicki
say you were
Minaj.
from Mount Pleasant?
I've listened to her. I'm not a
Are you a
fan.
barb? Oh my
What?
god. Are you a barb?
A Barb?
Yeah. It's
My
like
w-
a Nicki Minaj stan.
My wife is Barb. That's her name.
You said you were in Mount Pleasant, right?
Yeah.
You should take your wife to Boys to Men on the weekend. No?
No.
Why not?
She's 10 years younger than me. She doesn't like that music.
Really?
Yeah. Boys to Men, they're already men now. I don't know why it's boys to men. But
They're just men now.
I actually listened to them back in the day.
I still do.
But, I mean, back when I was listening to hardcore rap and stuff, it was like gangster rap, and when they would sing about someone being killed, usually someone was killed. So, yeah. Yeah, in relation to the song, it was almost like, we're going to sing about it here, and then it's going to happen, and then everyone sings about it happening after it happened. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's how Bobby Schmurder got put in jail.
You listen to T Grizzly?
No. No. I listen to all kinds of stuff, though, so. I've been on a kick lately of just old school, easier music. I downloaded a playlist from Amazon last night that has, like, Jane's Addiction and stuff like that in it. Like Here, The Call.
Do you know who T
Smiths.
Grizzly is or no?
No. No, that one I don't know.
He rapped about, what was it, $20,000 in stuff he stole from Michigan State while he was there. And then did he rob the jewelry store?
I don't know.
Nah.
Rappers lie now.
What do you do? So anyway, at the end of the day, yeah. We could actually create a program that kept track of all the songs that we listened to for a week. All right?
Great.
That journal program, all you have to do is edit that and make it fit what you want it to. It's not hard stuff. I do read comments, and some people might have been shocked, because I did respond to people's comments and stuff here and there if they made comments on the exam, because I think I asked, what you like, what you don't like, and everything. And I just want you to rest assured that the overall goal here isn't that you necessarily, I'm not trying to turn someone into a programmer. If you like programming, you will go in that direction on your own. What you need to get out of this class is a good understanding of what programming is and, a general idea. And the reason I say that is scripting is not that difficult for cybersecurity. You know, that actually involves some Python and some SQL statements and stuff. And you'll do that in different class. This is just getting you used to the syntax and the layout and everything else. But for MIS, your primary concern is that you have an understanding of programming because you might be project manager for someone creating an application or fixing an application or something of that nature. So if you have some level of understanding, I think I said first day of class that one of the interesting things about computer programmers is they're a different breed of person. You know, they are literally, they're in the same group as mathematicians and rocket engineers, and the reason I say that is because their minds are much more analytical in some ways, much more, they can think in numbers, and they don't always mesh real well as far as, you know, your typical corporate environment. That's why we have MIS, to manage that stuff, because you need someone to be able to speak both languages. You need to be able to have somebody that understands that extremely techie lingo, and somebody that can portray that same lingo and regurgitate it to a manager that doesn't understand it. You know, you get a little level of respect because you actually have some level of understanding. Years ago, I was writing software with a friend of mine, and he was a really good programmer. I've never really been into programming. I mean, I get lost in it and stuff because I enjoy it, but I never did things to the extent that he did, because he would actually do machine language and stuff like that. And we were writing software that would actually create it would operate CNC machines to cut parts for automotive industry. And you had to be extremely exact on your math and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I might not have been as good a programmer as he was, but I could stand back and I could see where errors were. So if he was having a problem, I was another set of eyes that could look at it and be like, and my thing that I always caught him up on was logic. It might not seem like it right now, but if I actually sat there and looked at what someone else was doing as you were doing it, I can see the logic problems. And like some of you sitting there might be like, oh yeah, no, I see where the problem is, but you don't speak up, and I don't know why. I think that we've grown up in a environment in education where, you know, the teacher's always right. You know, we're just going to sit and listen. They're a teacher for a reason, blah, blah, blah. You know, they went to school. They understand this. They're older than me. That mentality, well, if someone's wrong, tell them. You know, have that freedom of thought and expression and use it. So, anyway, that would have been the result, and hopefully that helps. But at the end of the day, I can give more assignments that are related to individual components, and we can do things that way where we actually have just a single assignment that's about writing to a Word file, have just a single assignment that's about reading and writing to an Excel file, keeping the blocks of code small and then putting it together into larger things. If that's something that would help people. And then if you're just watching football and that, I guess I understand that too. I wish I had like a Nerf football to throw back there. Has to be something soft. I can't do anything dangerous. Yeah, he doesn't even know why I said that. He's like, huh? What?
I was reading chapters.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Now that impresses me. I always hate that. I make assumptions sometimes, and it might be because of who you're sitting next to.
Yeah, this guy.
But you make assumptions in life, and what you see is you see people on their phone and stuff, and, you know, I gave Malik a hard time, but he could have actually been using that, you know, I don't know what his phone's capable of, but he could be using it to amplify the sound, he could be using it to record the lecture, he could, you know, different things like that. And I make assumptions in that, and I saw this kid going away on his phone, and yeah, it's like, still consider you guys kids, sorry. You're absolutely adults, but I'm old, so I could say kids. He's just going away on his phone. I'm like, who are you texting? And he says, I'm not texting. I'm like, what are you doing? He was literally taking his notes on the phone. And I'm like, oh, okay. I couldn't do that. My thumbs would fall off, but whatever. So yeah, sorry if I make an assumption that calls you out, but you deserved it. It's the hoodie. So, okay, so anyway, with that said, where did we leave off as far as class? We started a new, did we start this over? What?
I had a question. We,
No, you don't.
I already took that chapters 11 and 12 quiz in the MIS. We have to take it again.
What?
Put it in the week 9 folder.
11 and 12 quiz?
Yeah, the chapters.
Yes.
We already took it though.
It's a different quiz.
Huh?
Yes, it's different. There wasn't a chapter 11 and 12 quiz yet. It said there would be.
No, you said it should have been done in week 6.
No, the reading should have been done in week 6.
Yes, the reading should have been done in week 6. So yes, you do need to take it.
Well, how? You have the quiz in the week 6 folder. I already took it.
What?
Dude,
There was no
it should be in
quiz.
the week 10 then.
I don't think it was in the week 6. Week 6 had a quiz, but I don't think it was that quiz.
Chapters 11 and 12.
That, the quiz, the new one you added was just 15 questions. I think the others were like
Yeah.
25, 30.
Yeah, it's just to replace the fact that we weren't here. I was trying to be nice. I can give you something different.
No.
You want me
I
to?
was just wondering because we both say chapters 11 and 12. So.
Well, basically, we're going forward into those chapters, and I want to refresh it, number one.
Oh, okay.
Number two, I didn't realize, because I thought I looked back there, I didn't think there was actually a quiz over,
Yes, I took mine too.
huh. Take it anyway. Rule number one, I'm always right. Rule number two, if I'm ever wrong, refer back to rule number one.
That's not this class, though, obviously. That's for MIS.
This is an MIS class.
Well,
Rule number one, you just totally missed that rule, didn't you?
yeah.
He's like, yeah, I guess I did. Anyway, we had started going back over some of this stuff. How far did we make it?
We made all of it.
Did we make all of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about every line. Okay, so let's do this. I want to do something different, and I want to do something different. You know, we just went over some code in that shows that we understand variables and stuff. We did a quiz, or not a quiz, but an exam that showed where your understanding of variables and, you know, order of operations, different things like that fall into place. Let's actually create just a small file or a small program that does one thing, okay? And that one thing is going to have to do with reading and writing to a text file, okay? And I am going to steal this code right here because that's technically all I need to mess with it. So I'm going to paste that into a new program and we can go from there. Yeah. I could just take that. I don't think I need anything from up here. Just verifying, I don't want to, yeah, I should be able to just take that. So I'm going to start a new file, and we're going to actually relate it to stuff that we just talked about in class. Okay. I know Malik could use this, and you know, Nicholas, and I don't remember your name yet. I'm working.
It's okay, I understand.
You can say it, and I might start remembering it.
What if I choose not to?
Then you're just going to be "Hey you" for the rest of your life. That's okay, man. I had a friend for 3 years before I knew his first name. I'm good with that. I'll look it up. I'm that person. I'm going to take this code and I'm going to put it here. And we have f equals open journal.txt, and it says something about it says that we have something about I can read it right there and I can't remember. It had to do with the unexpected indent, and I'm not sure why it's doing that. Probably got to take it back out like this along with the rest of this. So if I hold down shift and hit tab, I can bring it all back out. You guys watch that? If I undo that a couple times, what I did, instead of having to, let's say that this was still there and that whole block of code has to go backward, I can highlight it all, hold down shift, back, hit tab twice, and it pulls it all back at the same time. That's a nice little tip. Okay? This is the name of the file I want to create. I'm going to call it music.txt. I want to make it an appendable file. And if it doesn't exist, it's going to make it. I want to append a file. If I just had an A there, it would append the file if it was existing, but it would not create a file. So if there was no file there, it would error out. It would say there's no file. Now, the thing is if I wanted to, I could catch that error, right? I could say, hey, I want to catch the error, and if the file doesn't exist, I'm going to say, do you want to create the file? Do you want to type a name in? Right? So, if I wanted to, did I spell library right? Thank God. My wife would have killed me. She's a librarian. She has, her pet peeve is when people say library. I'm like, why? I always go to the library. She's like, see that mark? No, I'm just kidding. So here's the thing. I could do something like this. I didn't like that. It should not have liked that at all. Can I do a comma there? Let's see. It does not like that. Undefined name, file path. Oh, file name. Dope. Name. Where did I get path from? Okay, so I could do that. So I could take whatever someone types in there, create the file name, say .text, right? So I'm adding that little .text to it. And I can test that right off the bat. I'm going to just comment the rest of this code real quick to show you what this does. Okay? You ready for this? I hope you are. So here we go. I'm going to run it. Over here it's going to ask me for, I'm going to stop it there. Run it. It's going to ask me for the name. Hit enter. Nope, didn't like that. Oh, that's because I didn't do the, yeah, I did. Open. Integers required. There shouldn't be an integer needed. An integer. What's that?
Mine works.
So what did I just do?
Let's say make it,
What did I type in that?
You don't need the comma after file name.
Oh, that's okay. There we go. I need a plus. There. Thank you. That's where I had it. So if I say, and I hit enter, it creates the file. So now I'm giving the person an option to actually name it whatever they want, right? So now I start creating an application that if I published it, anybody could use it. They could install it on their system. They could name their own file. I could even let it, we could find a way to change the directory that that file goes into. Okay? We're not going to get into that today, but we can. Okay, so now that we have it open, we know that we can write to that file. And we're not putting a date in, but could we do stuff like genre, title, singer, stuff like that? Yeah, so I could write, and could, instead of this, we know how to do an input. I could do that, right? Want to see what happens? Let's actually get rid of this file because I want to test to make sure it works again. And I'm going to make my screen smaller over here. I'm going to click run and I'm going to type in I'm just going to keep it simple. Dave's, enter genre, rap, hit enter. If I click on Dave, nothing went there. Something's missing. What's missing? Well, we'll find out, right? Let's go back. Is it necessary to actually close the file? We'll see. I run it again. Dave's. It still existed. Okay. Wrap. Now let's click on it. It didn't close the file to actually do the appending. So what did we just learn? We learned that we can take input directly. We don't have to put it in a variable. We learned that we can write it to a file with a simple write statement. And we learned that you have to have a close statement. Here we open it, here we close it. Not only did we open it here, but we named it. We would be able to do an if function in here. And that if function, we could test to see if that file existed already. Because what happens right now, if I run this and I type in Dave's again, is it will find Dave's again. But what if I don't want to have to rename that file every single time, right? So I could actually test to see if that exists, and if it does, I just do it. We'll just leave it as is for now. And I'm going to undo this, and we're going to say enter artist. And we're going to do this one. And we're going to say there we are again. No one's telling me, Sanford, you're spelling stuff wrong. Sanford, you got issues. Sanford, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So that's my code right now. So I'm doing a few, what? Commands. A few write commands. This is as simple as write commands get. Can I change this so when it saves it changes everything to all caps? Probably. Which that can be nice because somebody capitalizes the name of one song and then they just do lowercase on all the others. So when you print a report of it later on it just looks terrible. Well, let's run this and see what happens. Okay? I'm going to use the same name. Rap. And song title. Yeah, I know the title. I've never understood why you have a 2 in a pocket and then a TU pocket. I never understood that. What's the name? I don't know. But anyway, if I click on this to see what it did, I've got rap, Tupac. Notice that I didn't create a new line, right? So now I'm starting to see the format problems. Okay? So now, if I have formatting problems, well, first thing here, enter genre. I want to put a quote slash n unquote plus input, right? Here I want to put a because I noticed that there was a space missing there. Here I want to put a quote space quote plus input. Why would I do a quote space quote? Well,
You're just trying to make a space.
yeah, I'm just trying to make a space, right? I want it all in a single line. So I could just do quote space quote. Now there are codes that you can use in there, like I think it's NBSP or something like that, to put a space in there, to hard code a space, but I don't do that. It's just easy to use quote space quote. Okay? Now I'm going to get rid of the other file because I'm going to test to see what happens here. Right? I want to make sure I know exactly what's going on. So I'm going to delete that file. Why keep using a file that started off and looks bad, right? You leaving me?
No,
I have separation anxiety.
not for me.
Anyway, so Dave's music, whatever. Okay, the genre, rap. Nah, we'll just use the same one. But I'm going to use it that way this time. And Now I click on the file over here, and I see how it is, right? So what if instead of spaces I put a dash in there? You get what I'm saying is we can see how it's saving it and how it's going to look, right? So if instead of a space you could put a couple dashes in there or what have you. So if I go back here, I would probably put, instead of just a space, I might do a couple dashes. That way, oop. That way I can see the difference, right? So now I can run again. I could say, trying to think of the song. I don't really care. I don't know why I can't think of any titles for these songs. My brother absolutely loved Madonna, which I told him, I said, I never minded Madonna, I just hated her because you liked her. You know. She actually had some really good songs. Ha! I did that messed up. Oops! I didn't put things in the right order. But I can still see Madonna, Papa, Don't Preach. Oops! But now I can see that, okay, the dashes are in the right place, etc., etc. But it also created I put pop in as the title for the file instead of dabs. Okay? So that creates the problem. So I would actually get rid of both of these files and test again and all that good stuff. Now could I could, and I'm going to, instead of doing a write statement right here, I'm going to leave one write statement. I'm going to do a f.write, and I'm going to call it record. And record doesn't currently exist. I'm going to say record equals genre, right, plus artist, plus title, right? Song title. And right now, it's just saying I have an error because those don't exist. So instead of these write statements, I am going to say genre equals input. I don't need that /n there, right? So get rid of that /n. This is going to be artist equals, I don't need this stuff here. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to move this so you guys can see this code line by line. And then here, obviously, I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to call this title equals, right? And it's song title. Okay? And instead of this, which by the way, right here, I don't need that either. We're going to keep things as simple as possible. Okay, so now I know where I'm at. This needs to be brought out just a little more. Okay, so we have this. I'm saying artist plus song title. Just space things out so you can see it. Those spaces won't hurt anything. I'm just spacing it out to make it easier. And then if I had to, I could put a quote /n, unquote, record. Now, didn't I need a comma there? Yeah. Okay, so I got genre plus artist plus song title. Well, I needed a quote space quote in there to separate them, right? Or I could have put a couple dashes in there. Okay, so that's what my code looks like right now. So instead of doing individual write statements for everything, I can create a single variable that adds everything together. And how about instead of that, I can say input, unquote, or input equals quote not genre, record. Let's try this. We're going to print this to the screen. Actually, let's just do it right up here, right? No, don't do that. I'm just thinking about the logic as I go. We are going to say so I'm prompting somebody to put a yes or no in. That's going to be correct. So the actual result correct is going to be a Y or an N, right? Let me see if I can make this any larger to get it all on one line for you guys. Scroll up so you guys can see it, okay? Remember, I am recording this too. So right now, we're testing to see, we're going to show you the record that we're trying to write, and now we're going to do a test, right? We're going to actually throw an if in there. If, parenthesis, correct, equal, quote, yes, or, quote, lowercase y, then do that. Else, and we're going to keep this simple right now. Okay. Else, we're just going to close the file. We're not going to write it if it's wrong, right? And we haven't put the loop in there. There will be a loop, right? We're going to say, well, while this is yes, do this, otherwise no, because we want to be able to actually, which that while loop would actually be here, right after the correct statement, right? Because you're saying yes or no. So if it's no, we go back to input. Follow me? Okay. Let's see what happens. Remember, we're creating this without a flowchart. We're creating this without the logic that's actually like mapped out. So is there a high likelihood that we have a problem? Yeah. But let's see. I'm going to run it. Dave's music. Genre. Pop. That stuck. I might have spelt his name wrong. And what was the name of that song? Never gonna. I just rickrolled you guys. Okay, so we've got an error. What's the error? Enter song title. It says line 10 has an error of writing. Why? It's probably because it takes one and it has more than one. Is it because that doesn't have to be there? Or it's never asked us if this is correct, did it? Do I need a plus in here? Maybe I need to concatenate and not just put the argument in. Remember earlier? Let's test that. Okay? So I'm going to run it again. And if that worked, we'll look at the code again and say, okay. And my FedEx driver always rickrolls me. First time I could hear him playing music really loud on the street over, and he comes up to my house and is Rick Astley playing Never Gonna Give You Up, and I looked at him, I said, how dare you rickroll me? And he was laughing, so now every time he goes to drop a package off at my house, he's rickrolling me. I'm like, boom. Okay, we still have an error. So what's that telling me? What am I missing? Is that comma needed? Is there supposed to be a plus there? What was the code for writing a is it supposed to be a plus? It's still not asking me this question, so I don't think I'm making it here. I think something else is happening here.
You have correct equals input equals. I don't think you need the second equals.
Thank you. Like I was saying, I don't think it's making it here. Even though it's saying that's where the error was down here, it wasn't making it there. Right? And that's another thing about when you're troubleshooting. This will show you that you have an error somewhere, but that error is, even though they say it's line 10, it's happening somewhere before line 10. So pay attention to what's happening, okay? Because remember, I'm asking it to say, hey, is this correct? But we weren't making it to that, right? It didn't run that command, so that should have told me right there. But I ignored that because I'm always right. Remember rule number 1? Yeah, not always right. So let's see if this works. Ah, now we've made it somewhere. Is this correct? Rep. Ah, see? Rep isn't right, so I would say no. But, and I need a space in there. But if I say yes, now it's giving me a different error. Right? and it's line 10, but we've made it a step farther. So now, my problem is probably right here. Well, number one, I didn't like the way that put that there, so I'm actually going to say I needed another space there somewhere, didn't I? Where was that? Where did I need the other space? We'll try that. We'll see what happens there. Might have been there. Okay. Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't there. All of a sudden, it's going to try testing something wrong. So it's right here. Do I need a plus sign there instead of a comma? Because one thing we've learned so far is that what? That tends to be what we're missing most of the time, is so far we've mixed up commas and pluses. So we're going to test it again. This time I'm going to do M-A-L-E-E-K. Malik, is it E-E-K? E-A-K?
I think it's I-K.
I-K? No. No. Can you hear me? Is it E-E-K?
For what?
Your name?
Oh no, it's M-A-L-I-K.
I-K, okay. Do I have another Malik? Might. Malik. Who's the artist again?
Kodak.
Kodak.
Kodak?
Yeah, Kodak.
K-O-D-I, or
No, it's like the picture.
K-O-D-A-K.
I don't know the name of a song by that person, so. Is this correct? Yes. There, it wrote. Okay, so commas and pluses matter, right? And remember something that I said a long time ago. Plus we're appending to something. A comma inside of a function usually is telling you that there's another argument. And if we read the actual error message up here, let's see if it, they got rid of some of it. If I actually read that whole thing, it kept saying that it only needs one argument, that I had two. So if you're getting an error that says that you have more than one argument, and it can only handle one argument, that's because you're using a comma. You're adding another argument. Remember in Excel, just give you an example. If I say equals, I thought I started a blank. Equals if, parenthesis, A is greater than B. Well, no. A2 is greater than B2, comma, that takes me to my next argument. If I put a plus in there, it would have been like B2 plus whatever. So it appends the same argument, where putting a comma in adds a new argument, and some of these functions can only handle one argument, and that's why it was saying that. Some of them require more than one argument, and it's be like, this requires more than one argument. So pay attention to your errors. Okay, so commas separate arguments, pluses append something in that case. Okay, so that's why a plus was needed there. So now, if I go and I look at Malik's file, it worked. I think I've got my N in the wrong spot. My /N shouldn't be happening here. I should probably be doing it here. See what I'm saying?
You gotta put another quote. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I need that. Right? I think that's right. I was just moving it over.
Yeah, I see what you're
Yeah.
doing.
So that would put it, so instead of starting my file with a blank line, I would actually start on line 1. Otherwise, yeah, it would put a space between every one. So we took a simpler concept of just writing something to a file, and we actually made it write multiple things to a file, but we also threw it in a variable, and then we show the result on the screen, right? Should I have maybe done a plus quote slash n unquote, and then over here said plus quote slash n plus. Okay, and the reason I say this is because when I do this, I'm going to use Nicholas as a name. Nicholas, give me a genre. Pop.
Drake.
Drake, D-R-A-K-E.
Yep.
Is he really pop?
He's popping, I think.
Does he got some R&B in there?
Back and forth, kind of like Kanye.
Okay, got you.
I'd say passion fruit. It's pretty solid.
Passion fruit?
Yeah.
So now I got an error because I was trying to break it down onto multiple lines, and why wouldn't it do it? So now I can see right here. Well, let's go back to our code, and I say, is this correct? Plus slash n plus record plus, I got a second plus in there. I probably don't need that. So now let's test it again. Okay? I'm going to classify this person as R&B. They might disagree, but
I thought you were.
okay, so I have one too many plus signs. But I knew what line it was happening on because I'm paying attention to what it's letting me type in. Right? So let's make sure that that actually wrote it exactly how I wanted it to write it, and sure enough it did. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Was this useful? So we took a single concept and built on a single concept. Okay. Get out of here. Have a good weekend. I will not be here next Friday. I will post a video. And you will have to follow along and submit something. You hear that? I will post a video. You will have to follow along in it and post something.
Can you post it before Friday?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely post it before Friday. I'll actually try to get it done.
It's a bad idea.
I'll try to get it done by Wednesday and out there, so you know. What? What's a bad idea? Making you do something?
Oh, no, I was talking to him.